Does Bronny
contribute.
James Jr. have to be successful in order for this to still be a great story?
No.
I want to see him be successful just because I know how people might use that against LeBron in the future. But I don't think you can even use it against him. The fact that LeBron has put himself in a position where he has so much power that he can get Bronny James.
What's your take on Bronny? Do you think that he belongs on the Lakers, or do you think that he just belongs in G League?
No, I said it from the beginning. You got to put everything in totality, right? You can't just say, okay, Bronny, he averaged 4. What is his attributes? 6'2", 42-inch vertical, strong, fast twitch, can dribble, can shoot the ball, right? So you're 19. At these picks, who is the best option? 24-year-old who's 24, right? I'm comparing you to a 19-year-old, right? So if I rewind you at 19, where were you? You wasn't trying to get into the NBA. You evaluate who has the...
Have you ever watched something unfold and feel that slow, sinking chill that tells you the whole thing was never supposed to be real? That is exactly where the Bronny story sits right now. What started as a hopeful father and son moment has tilted into a full-blown debate about fairness, influence, and whether a professional league just winked at its own standards. Let us be blunt. The phrase fans have leaned into is simple and ugly: the Bronny scam. Not everyone uses that exact language, but plenty of people online and inside the game use it as shorthand for a much larger problem. The problem is not just one kid in a uniform. The problem is the process, the optics, and the appearance that access can substitute for accomplishment.
Is passive all the way around. Everything is secondary to him. And it's just this awkward thing. When he's supposed to shoot it, he passes. When he's...
Think back to how this started. A worldwide superstar says he wants to play with his son. That is a human thing. Fans buy into that story because it is emotional, cinematic, and it feeds the fantasy of legacy. But intention and outcome are not the same thing. You can want something and still do the wrong thing to get it. Critics point to the timeline. Bronny was never the blue-chip prospect we were taught to expect from a reliable pipeline to the NBA. His college numbers did not scream first-rounder. Yet, one historic franchise used a late draft slot and a guaranteed contract to make a story happen live on national television. The moment Bronny and his dad checked into that game together, social media broke. It was an Emmy clip almost immediately. It was promotional gold. And that, to many observers, was the rub. It felt manufactured.
Do you have any issue with the Lakers taking LeBron with the 55th overall pick?
No, I got a problem with the people that act like nepotism hasn't been going on before LeBron.
This is not theoretical hand-wringing. There have been concrete moments that pulled the thread. Remember when Jaylen Brown was overheard at Summer League? He said what a lot of people were whispering. A player of his caliber saying out loud that he did not think Bronny was a pro set off a chain reaction. He apologized later, sure. That apology was polite theater. But the original remark pierced the bubble in a way no PR statement could patch. It showed that inside actual locker rooms, skepticism about merit existed long before the headlines leaned in another direction. Then you had Ron Harper, who at All-Star Weekend delivered a line that landed like a surgical strike. He said he was not LeBron James. He would not steer his kids down a predetermined path. He let them earn it. That quote struck a nerve because it contrasted two philosophies of parenting and development. One is mentorship and encouragement. The other is influence and leverage. Harper did not shout. He did not need to. He simply underscored the obvious with the credibility of a 5-time champion and the context of his sons earning their way.
The problem with Bronny's game is he's not aggressive. And when you're not looking to score, it becomes
A problem.
a problem. When you're looking to make passes, you miss everything, right? If you just...
Now watch how the defensive machine kicked in. Networks that once treated any criticism of the kid as unthinkable pivoted quickly to protect the family business. Columnists scrubbed headlines, hot takes cooled. Suddenly, anyone who raised the merit question was accused of attacking a kid, of picking on a son who did not ask to be famous. That is where the debate gets sticky and messy. Of course you do not mock a child. Of course you do not treat a human being like a prop. But you also cannot silence an entire profession by insisting that policy and optics do not matter. Here is the heart of the issue. The NBA is a meritocracy in theory. 15 roster spots per team, hundreds of athletes competing for each one. Coaches, scouts, front offices, analytics teams, developmental pathways, overseas leagues, G League growth plans. All of that is supposed to work like a vetting funnel. You earn an opportunity by producing results and by demonstrating talent in competitive environments. When a high-profile exception is made, the sport loses a little of its luster. The signal to the market changes. The inevitable question follows. If the rules bend for some, who loses?
How did you feel about the tweet that LeBron sent out? Bronny was better than some current NBA guys.
We do guys a lot of sorry in the league, I'm gonna be honest.
Real players lose. Guys grinding in the G League lose minutes. Young free agents who could have contributed this season lose roster spots. The competition loses credibility. Fans lose trust. And perhaps worst of all, the so-called beneficiary loses confidence in the worth of their achievement. That is the hidden cost that no PR team can easily measure. It gets worse. There are reports, whispers, and yes, even named pieces where front office sources admitted that the Bronny signing was, to use their word, a gift to LeBron. When the club admits the deal was about optics and goodwill more than pure basketball evaluation, the protective narrative collapses. That admission should force a league-level conversation. Are we a sport or are we a spectacle? Can we be both without confusing the two?
He has the Bugatti engine, but he wants to drive the speed limit. He don't want a ticket. I don't want a ticket, right? That's how he uses his body, right? If you say, hey.
Let us be clear about what the defenders say. They point to family, to legacy, to the emotional value of a father playing a game with his son on the same court. They say players have always used influence. They remind us that dynasties and family stories are part of sports history. None of that is untrue, but no tradition is above the rules. The league has always prized fairness as a core value, even while recognizing the promotional power of star moments. This is not about stopping sweet father-son stories. It is about how and when those stories are manufactured. And then there is the development angle. Plenty of constructive criticism argues Bronny would have been better served by a longer apprenticeship, 4 years in college, some G League seasoning, a tougher, quieter road where he earned respect by earning minutes, not by being given them. Compare that to the Harper route. Dylan Harper, Ron Jr., those kids paid dues. They walked into systems that tested them and made them better. They did not get scripted moments. They had to fight for every minute and every rep. That is not romanticizing the grind. That is the confidence of competence. We cannot ignore the human element either. Bronny is a young man. He is living his life in a fishbowl. He hears the critics, he sees the clips. Every missed shot becomes a viral clip. The pity card is not the point. The point is that the program around him made choices that may have traded long-term growth for a one-night highlight. That is a disservice to anyone who gives a damn about craft. And let us be practical. Sports leagues are businesses. Branding matters. LeBron is the biggest brand the modern NBA has. The franchise calculus that says this moment will sell tickets and global attention is rational from a marketing spreadsheet, but rational business choices have ethical and structural consequences. If the league normalizes exceptions for big names, it introduces risk. Fans who believe in the integrity of the competition begin to tune out. Sponsors begin to ask harder questions. Competitive balance shifts in ways that make development leagues less relevant. So what is the fix? First, transparency. Be honest when special accommodations are made. If a roster move is about narrative, label it as such and commit to compensatory rules that protect competition. Second, development guardrails. If a veteran wants to create a father-son moment, find ways to stage it without hurting the competitive process. Exhibition games, preseason showcases, and developmental contracts with clear growth targets. Third, protect the kid. If a franchise signs a high-profile son, commit to a genuine plan that emphasizes growth, G League minutes, and real coaching, not token garbage time appearances. Most importantly, the league must decide what it stands for. If the NBA is going to be both entertainment and sport, then the two roles must be in alignment. Moments that feed the brand must not cannibalize the integrity of the competition. That is not a moralizing plea, it is a practical imperative.
At the end of the day, this is not just about Bronny James. It is about the signal the league sends to every aspiring player and to every fan who pays to watch a game expecting a contest, not a scripted scene. You can love the LeBron story and still insist on fair play. You can admire family and still demand that a professional league operate by clear standards. If that outrage sounds harsh, remember this: legacies are fragile. They are built on a combination of talent, effort, and the respect of peers and fans. If influence starts to substitute for merit, the legacy itself becomes weaker, not stronger. That would be tragic for the man whose name opened stadium doors. It would be worse for a kid whose entire career may be defined by a headline rather than by a body of work. So where do you stand? Do you see the Bronny situation as a human moment robbed by cynics, or do you see it as a cautionary tale about what happens when a celebrity buys opportunity? Drop your take, but do not hide from the core question. If the point of sports is to find out who is better, then make sure the rules let that happen. If the point is a staged moment of family sentiment, put it in an arena where no one loses a job or a shot at the league.